We'll look at the last of the concepts for our TDD theory part now, which are the thorns and the gold. These are a couple of concepts that aren't as well known with regular TDD theory, and they go a bit like this. We want to work on the thorns first before going for the gold. It's got a bit of a Indiana Jones-esque type charm to it. So before we get to the gold, which are the happy path scenarios, we want to deal with problem scenarios, so exception conditions, degenerate conditions or boundary conditions, and sometimes we also need some supporting data. We want to work with those first. Let's have a look at the thorns in the order that we ought to tackle them. So firstly is supporting, sometimes also called ancillary data. So those are data that we need in order to work on our unit tests that we want to construct for our business requirements. However, sometimes we might not have all the data that we need to do those. For example, if we wanted to work out the tax amount for, say, some sort of invoice class, right? We wanted to go and construct some unit tests around that. In order for us to do that, we would first need to make sure maybe our invoice has got some sort of tax rate property, so that we can work out the sales tax. So we would want to construct these unit tests that pertain to the tax rate first before we get into the ones that we really want to do, which are those unit tests that have to do with tax amount. So that's supporting data. Next, point number 2 there are degenerate conditions. So these are simplistic states or boundary conditions. And that is if we are writing some unit tests for a customer, for example, some sort of customer class, and maybe this customer class can hold the orders that belong to a particular customers. Well, first we want to work out or construct the unit tests that have to do with the customer without orders. All right, so this would be a degenerate or simplistic state. First, work out the unit tests and then write the code for the customer without orders and then add the orders onto it. The orders are extra. And last but not least are any kind of exception scenarios. These are the error conditions, maybe to do with invalid input. I mean, oftentimes it would have to do with invalid input. So for example, an invoice has got an invoice line and there a negative quantity has been set, and that probably wouldn't fly, right? I mean, maybe in some conditions that would work, but most of the time invoice lines shouldn't have negative quantities that would kind of like imply a refund or something like that. So we want to deal with those as well. And then when we have dealt with the thorns, then we can go for the happy path scenarios. Why this cumbersome way of doing things? Why not go for the gold straight away? Well, our programs will be that much more robust and able to handle error scenarios well without crashing if we deal with them first. And then the happy path scenarios at the end is almost an afterthought that then becomes really quite easy most of the time. Where programs tend to fall over is when there are undiscovered exception scenarios which will come out in production when when sort of incorrect data kind of comes through and then it falls over. We end up with null reference exceptions and the like, and that's never cool. We are better off dealing with the thorns first, and then once we've made our way past the thorns, the gold is just the cherry on top, and usually quite an easy thing to do.